Okay. Senior breeding meet showmanship, Blair Sanchez, Cooper Sanchez, Walter Martins, and Callie Rosner. First gate call for 4-H intermediate breeding meat goat showmanship. Oh, gate call for 4-H intermediate breeding, meat goat showmanship.
What a really solid set of senior showmanship here as we get started with the breeding goat show. I think all four of them are really, really good. All four of them have maybe a little bit different style or a different kind of way that they get in here and present these goats. And I don't think any of them are the wrong way. Maybe just kind of where my preferences lean a little bit. I did go through and talk with each of the exhibitors just to kind of separate them maybe a little bit. I think it's very, very close for me between a few of them. I'm not a big question person in terms of showmanship, but I did go through and ask them if they could change one thing about their animal, what would they change? And I think that's an important thing to know as an exhibitor and as a showman, because that helps you disguise those things on those animals if you can. And I think that really separates a good showman from an excellent showman. And I think all four of these kids gave very, very excellent and very, very valid answers. So again, commend you guys on that. Again, I think they do an excellent job. I think it's a little bit closer between particularly two of them for me. Just love their intensity, love their posture, and their overall ring presence in here from the moment that they were standing outside that gate to the moment that they're at right now in this ring right here. Again, four solid, excellent showmen. Definitely could withstand some more competition. Let's go ahead and give these kids a round of applause. I'll select your champion and your reserve, and then on their down.
First place in senior breeding meat goat showmanship. First place was Blair Sanchez. Second place was Callie Rosner. Third place was Cooper Sanchez. And fourth place was Walter Martins. We now have the 4-H intermediate breeding meat goat showmanship. We have Juliet Mulhern, Sage Sterner, Tejan Derner, Grace Baumgartner, and Adeline Crowder.
Let's go ahead and give these kids a round of applause. Again, an excellent set of showmen. I think these kids have been doing a great job all day, whether they were showing earlier in the sheep show or out here again in the goat ring or maybe out here for the first time today. I think they all do a nice job. Again, similar to kind of the senior division, a little bit differences just in terms of style of showmen and the way that we're getting those animals propped up and set up. And like I said, that's okay. I'm going to give you guys some grace, and you know your animal better than I do, and have been working with these animals obviously more, and I think you guys all do an excellent job. For me, I think there's just some simple differences in terms of maybe where we're getting those feet set on those goats, where our hand placements are, and then just overall eye contact and intensity. And I will kind of give this group a little bit of word to the wise. I know oftentimes we're showing these smaller goats, it's easy to kind of get hunched over. Just kind of stay relaxed, keep those shoulders back, and just stay relaxed out here. I think oftentimes we're getting a little shrunk down, a little more uncomfortable looking than we need to be. But again, very, very solid set of showmen. Give these kids one more round of applause. I'll go out and select your champion and your reserve.
First place in our 4-H intermediate breeding meat goat showmanship is Tegan Durner. Second place is Grace Baumgartner. Third place is Adeline Crowder. Fourth place is Sage Durner. And fifth place is Juliet Mulhern. This is our gate call for junior 4-H breeding meat showmanship, and I need Ezra Martins in the arena. It's our first gate call for Pee Wee showmanship.
Let's go ahead and give these two a round of applause. I think they both do a really nice job and obviously are going to continue to get better as they go. I went through and talked to each of them a little bit on what we can do different. Young man in the front, we kind of talked about hand placement, not getting our arms wrapped all the way around that goat's neck, and he responded, and we had some good conversation there. Young man directly behind him, I think he does a nice job of getting that goat set up. He's quick and he's efficient. Every now and then we kind of lose some eye contact and some intensity out here. But again, I think they both do a really nice job. One more round of applause. I'll show you your champion and your reserve.
First place in the 4-H junior breeding meet goat showmanship is Ezra Martins. Second place is Cooper Schinzel. Okay, Pee Wee Showmanship.
You're right, honey. All right, what's your name?
Sloan.
And what's your goat's name?
Rouge.
And what's your favorite thing about showing goats?
That I get to love on them and see them do their great things.
All right, good job. All right, young lady, what's your name?
Campbell.
And what's your goat's name?
Maddie.
And what's your favorite thing about showing goats?
Loving on them and teaching them how to do it.
All right, good job. All right, what's your name?
Sadie.
And what's your goat's name?
Grinch.
And what's your favorite thing about showing goats?
Walking them around.
All right, good job. All right, what's your name?
Hannah.
And what's your goat's name?
Natasha.
And what's your favorite thing about showing goats?
That they bet.
All right, good job. All right, what's your name?
Luke.
And what's your goat's name?
Cherry.
And what's your favorite thing about showing goats?
Bracing.
All right, good job. All right, what's your name?
Casey.
And what's your goat's name?
Hawk.
All right, what's your favorite thing about showing goats?
Walking.
All right, let's go ahead and give these kids a round of applause. I think they do an excellent, excellent job.
First gate call for our first heat of junior does. Grace Baumgartner, Adeline Crowder, Sage Durner, Walter Martins, Callie Rosner, Blair Sanchez, and Cooper Sanchez. Final gate call for Heat 1 of the junior does, Grace Baumgartner, Adeline Crowder, Sage Durner, Walter Martins, Callie Rosner, Blair Sanchez, and Cooper Sanchez. First gate call for Heat 2, junior does, Tegan Durner, Kenzie Holberg, Blair Sanchez, Cooper Sanchez, and Juliet Mulhern.
There's two heats to this class, so I don't have them really in any particular order other than the ones kind of over here that aren't going to return to the heat. So I'm just going to kind of go down the line and tell you what I'm seeing. Young man's doe directly in front of me. I think that one is one of the neatest ones from the side in relation to the does that we have out here. That one is so cool and so good in terms of her balance. Yet I think from a structural standpoint, I think she checks a lot of boxes as well. She's good in terms of her angle. She's good out of her hip. That one has enough mass and power to me. She is just the most overwhelming in terms of foot and feature and overall mass and power? No, but I almost think that works to her advantage out here in relation to the three does that are standing behind her. Just a really, really solid and functional type of female. Young lady's doe that's standing directly behind that one. One that you love from a rib shape standpoint. Love that one center of body. For me, that one gets just a little more conventional in terms of her build and in terms of her hip and hind leg, and just a little bit frailer in terms of her feature. When we set that one into motion, I'd like her to just pick that tail set up a little bit and come a little bit leveler out of her hip. Young lady's doe right here in front of me, that one's really cool. She's big-footed, she's big-featured. Love that one center of body and her extra width and dimension. Maybe comes in a few more pieces as you get off to the side of her, but I think one that has some unique parts and pieces that you can do a lot of things with. The young ladies that's right here, the smallest doe of the class, and kind of my problem child, as you will. Maybe one that's a little bit harder to get a read on in terms of structure and actual function and, of skeleton. She's not really wanting to kind of get out and go today, but man, that one is opened up and she's big chested and she's big hipped, and you step in behind that one will go and make weathers all day long. Like I said, maybe just can't get the best read on that one from a skeletal standpoint. The young man's that's going to come next, I like that one from a rib shape standpoint. That one has some extra width and dimension. For me, she wants to get a little bit shorter and rounder out of that hip, maybe just doesn't balance quite as neatly from the side, and certainly doesn't have that extra width in terms of her pin set in relation to the doe that goes ahead of her. Young lady's black doe, one that's really good just in terms of her frame size and her overall growth and performance. No doubt that one will be functional and is kind of a broody type of female. She just comes a little bit flatter and more two-dimensional in terms of her muscle pattern in relation to some does ahead of her. The young man's that's going to round out the class. I like that one from the side. I like her extra length and extension ahead of her shoulder. For me, that one just maybe doesn't balance quite as nicely from the side. Love to see a little bit more foot and bone underneath that one. Really nice class. Go ahead and give those kids a round of applause.
Second heat of the junior does, we have Tegan Durner, Kinsley Holbert, Juliet Mulhern, Blair Sanchez, and Cooper Sanchez.
Again, we'll bring these three back and evaluate them against the ones that I kept back from the last class. Young ladies doe directly in front of me. Maybe just not the most overwhelming from a power and mass standpoint. Love to see that one have a shot more rib shape and just overall width and dimension to her. But I think when you get that one and set her into motion, that's where she probably excels for me. I think she's good in terms of the build of her hawk and her pastern. She's flexible off both ends of her skeleton. I think obviously we need to pick that tail set up in that one a little bit, but I think one that when you get her into motion is plenty functional in terms of her skeleton. Young ladies here in the middle, that one combines skeletal function and some rib shape and mass and power in relation to that doe that was just standing in front of her. Love that one in terms of her rib shape and her extra stoutness into her pin set. Love that extra width that one carries through her chest floor. Maybe just gets a little bit plainer about her jaw and her throat there, but again, one that you just really like for her overall dimension. Young ladies that's kind of standing directly behind her. Definitely not one that overwhelms you in terms of overall capacity and dimension, but that one's just really good built and one that you really like from the side. She's tall shouldered. She's really level and neat down her top line. Really, really cool about her front 1/3. Obviously, in relation to that doe that's ahead of her, just need that one to have a shot more dimension there, especially through the center portion of her body, but a really nice doe for that young lady. Young lady's doe that's going to come next, the one that is wide constructed, maybe a little bit bigger boned. For me, that one just gets a little bit plainer in terms of her type and kind, carrying a little bit more cover for me than I'd maybe like. But again, I think one that's plenty functional in terms of her skeleton, maybe just not as neat from the side in relation to the does that go ahead of her. And then the young ladies that goes next, one that you like, again, I think that one has some extra length and some extension to her. For me, that one just gets too flat there into her forerib. We need to spread that one out into her pin set and just set her wider at the ground. Young ladies dapple that's going to round out the class, one that maybe does have a shot more rib shape than this doe ahead of her. But again, for me, just one that gets a little bit flatter there in terms of overall true dimension and muscle shape. Again, nice class. Go ahead and give these kids a round of applause.
If we can get the animals that were pulled from both heats back into the arena.
Really, really good trio of does here. And I think the two that are going to go first and second are just a little bit more alike. Not to take anything away from the young lady that's going to go in third. For me, that's kind of a first or third today when you got a pair that are so similar. I think between the top two, the young lady's doe that goes ahead and wins, it's just a nickel wider constructed, nickel wider through her chest floor, a little bit stouter in terms of her upper pin set. Love, like I said, love that one's rib shape. And of these three, she's probably my favorite as we set her into motion. Is she just as neat fronted as the two standing directly behind her? In my opinion, no. I think she definitely could be a little bit neater, could be a little bit more feminine there through her neck and her chest. But I think a really, really good place to start. Young man's that comes second. On the profile, I love that doe. I think that one's lines are so good. I think she's so level down her top line and so good in her balance from the side. In relation to the young lady's doe who goes ahead and wins it, however, she's just a nickel flatter in terms of her overall make. We get in behind that one as we set her into motion. Love to just see her set down square to the ground, but I think a really good place to start, or to go second. Young lady, not to take anything away from your doe. I love that one's foot. I love that one's feature. I think that one's so good in terms of her extra stoutness of bone. I love that one in terms of how long and elegant she is about her front 1/3. I think as you study that one from the side, however, from a balance standpoint, she tends to break there behind her shoulder, maybe just not as full and as powerful there in terms of her forerib. Would love to just relax that one in terms of the set of her knee to kind of give her the advantage within that trio. But young lady, that's a very, very nice doe for you as well. The young lady that's going to come next, like I said in that class, just kind of a problem child, because that young lady gets that one parked from the side, and man, she is real wicked cool. She is so level down her top line. I love that one. As you study her from her shoulder back to her pin set, her balance from the side is just really, really impeccable. That one has so much shape and so much mass and power, kind of works to that one's disadvantage a little bit as you study her in terms of her knee and I guess her kind of her front end and her shoulder. And like I said, it's just a little bit tougher to get a read on that one's actual movement and kind of mobility as we set that one into motion today. But I think as we progress that one on, she's going to be very, very cool. Young lady's doe that comes next, like I talked in class, love that one's extra length and extension, and from the side, I think that one balances really well. Out here in this particular drive, though, she gets just a little bit flatter in terms of her overall makeup, maybe just doesn't have as much mass and power as the does that go ahead of her. Same can kind of be said as the two does that are going to round out the particular drive. I think both good does in their own right, just a little bit flatter and frailer featured in relation to some other does. Really nice drive, a nice class there. Go ahead and give these kids a round of applause.
First place in our junior doe under one was Blair Sanchez. Second was Cooper Sanchez. Third was Grace Baumgartner. Fourth was Callie Rosner. Fifth was Tegan Durner. Sixth was Blair Sanchez. And seventh was Blair Sanchez. First call. For our yearling doe, over a year, we have Tegan Durner and Anthony Quick.
A really nice pair of older does here. I'm going to leave them the way they came in. A young man's doe just reads a little bit more opened up in terms of her skeleton, wider from end to end. And I think that one does present a really, really nice look from the side. And I think when you set them into motion, that one probably has the advantage just in the way she utilizes her hawk and pattern. Young man does a really nice job of presenting that one as well. A young lady that's going to come second. I like that one's extra length of body and extension there. For me, that one just gets a nickel flatter in terms of her overall make, maybe just a nickel rounder out of her hip too, and that kind of affects her mobility there off those hind two. But again, really, really nice class. Go ahead and give these kids a round of applause.
Our next class is Best Pair of Does. We have Blair Sanchez, and Cooper Sanchez. Sorry about that. I missed the senior doe over 2, Blair Sanchez.
Just a single entry here, but I think a good one at that. Love that one's extra length and extension. And she's really neat there ahead of her shoulder. That's a really long-bodied one, and she's good in terms of her build and her structural function. I think if you're going to change that doe, she maybe wants to break there a little bit right behind her shoulder, just make her a little bit leveler as she comes out there. But again, really solid single entry. Go ahead and give this young lady a round of applause.
First place was Blair Sanchez. Next class is Best Pair of Does. We have Blair Sanchez, and Cooper Sanchez.
Three entries here in the pairs. Actually, they kind of made it easy on me. I'm going to leave them how they stand, use this pair here to go ahead and win. I think both those does are just good, and they read right in terms of their structure. They read right in terms of their build. Just solid project for that young lady. The pair that comes next, maybe a little bit neater in terms of their overall design and their extra length and extension. Maybe just don't have as much mass and power as the pair that goes ahead and wins. The pair that's going to go ahead and third, I think probably match up the best just in terms of type and kind. But for me, I think they need to read with a little bit more rib shape and a little bit more mass and dimension there through their forerib to kind of give them the edge between that the top two pairs. So again, really solid set. Go ahead and give those kids a round of applause.
Next class is Junior Buck Kid, Cooper Schinzel and Callie Rosner.
Really nice pair of bucks. Really nice one to go ahead and start out with. Going to go ahead and use the young ladies here standing in front of me. That one is just a powerhouse. He's so opened up through his chest floor and so bold about the center portion of his body. Step in behind that one. He's stout and powerful. Built a lot like that doe you brought in here. I think that those are all good things. And I think that one is just so masculine in terms of his type and kind. A lot of good to that buck. Maybe wants to get a little bit tighter in terms of his spine. We set that one into motion. But again, just in terms of mass and power, has the advantage within the pair. Young man's that's going to come second. One that balances well from the side. I think that one's good and functional in terms of his type and kind. For me, in relation to the one that goes ahead and wins the class, just a little bit flatter and more two-dimensional in terms of his overall make. Really nice class. Go ahead and give those kids a round of applause.
First place for Junior Buck Kid is Callie Rosner. Second is Cooper Schinzel. First call for Supreme Champion Doe. We would like the first and second place winners of each class back into the arena. Arena, we should have Blair Sanchez and Cooper Sanchez for Junior Doe under 1. Yearling Doe over 1, we should have Anthony Quick and Tegan Durner. Senior Doe, we should have Blair Sanchez.
Nice drive here in the Supreme Doe, and I know you guys were maybe thinking we were done, but thanks for coming back. Young ladies, younger Doe here, I think we talked in that class. I think she was just the one that you're most comfortable with from a structural standpoint, a function standpoint. Yet she doesn't give up having some extra width and power as well. Like I said, is she just like the neatest headed and the neatest in terms of her neck and chest? Certainly not. I think maybe the one that was actually second in that division maybe is just a little bit neater there. That one just doesn't maybe have as much shape and as much mass and power as the Doe standing directly ahead of her, but both those really, in my opinion, are in the hunt. Young man's older Doe, I think that one actually needs to be in the conversation. That one's really, really good in terms of her angle. She's really, really good in terms of her lower joints and the way that she's built in relation to the two younger Does. Maybe just pick that one up in her tail set a little bit, and obviously with come some age, she's going to get a little bit plainer in terms of her front 1/3. But again, I think those three Does are really in contention in my opinion. Really, really solid set of Does. For me, I think it just kind of comes back to the two younger Does. They're going to go ahead and be grand in reserve. Let's go ahead and give these kids a round of applause.
Grand champion overall Doe goes to Blair Sanchez, and reserve champion goes to Cooper Sanchez.